Drop your comments down below and let me know your thoughts on what I cover, what I talk about, but also your thoughts on the broader picture and how this affects WordPress as a brand, as a platform, and all those kinds of things moving forward, because I'd love to get your feedback and your opinions. Now, before I do go any further, I want to say that I have no interest in taking sides here. I don't think that WP Engine is in the right for certain things, and I don't think Matt Mullenweg or WordPress are in the right for certain things. That is a much, much bigger picture and not something I want to cover. I want to talk specifically about what's going on with Advanced Custom Fields Free, not Pro. The Pro is not affected by this, and the whole situation right now. But if you're unaware, let me quickly show you what I'm talking about, and then I'll give you my thoughts and my opinions. And then, like I say, drop your feedback down below and let me know your thoughts as well. But please do make sure that you keep things polite, civil, and also if you agree or disagree with myself or anybody else's points, raise whatever points you want to there. Any counterpoints, any arguments you have is perfectly fine. But what's not fine is where you start calling people out, calling people names and getting abusive. Please do not do that. Keep those comments nice and polite, no matter what opinion you actually have. Okay, so if you go to the ACF website, you'll see we've got this massive red warning banner telling us that the ACF plugin is no longer available on WordPress.org. Now, up until a couple of days ago, it was available, but it was out of date. A patch was released by WordPress, and a patch was also released by ACF, and a different method to actually upload and maintain future updates for ACF free. I'll link to my video showing you how to do all that right here, right now, so you can check that out if you're unaware what's going on. But if you are aware, this is an important thing you need to be aware of to understand how you move forward. So let me show you. If you already have ACF free installed and it's an older version, you may have an update warning or notification. Or if you go in to install Advanced Custom Fields, you may be strangely presented with something a little different. I've searched for Advanced Custom Fields, and you'll notice that ACF is no longer listed here anyway. Additional plugins to work with ACF are. But you'll notice the first one is called Secure Custom Fields. So you may be thinking that they've rebranded if you are unaware of what's going on. Or you may have updated automatically in the background, or you may have a sort of platform that allows you to do multiple updates across multiple sites. And then you just one day log in and think, hang on, what's this Secure Custom Fields? Well, if we take a look at it, it looks strangely like ACF. 2+ million active installs. That's a big, big number and something that we need to be aware of here. Over 1,200 5-star reviews, last updated 17 hours ago. So all the things look normal until you look at this, by WordPress.org. Secure Custom Fields. Let's take a look at more details. Okay, so Secure Custom Fields, we've got some description and what have you. But then if we take a look at the right-hand side, we've got a version number, which is quite high for a forked version of a plugin. We'll come back to forked in a minute. You'll also notice that we have all these average ratings. We've got the reviews, of which there are over 1,200. You also notice contributors. Strange that. But how can a new plugin have all of this going on if it was only released yesterday? Strange. Anyway, so let's just say you go and install this, which we will do. And we'll activate it. And now we have Secure Custom Fields installed. As we can see by Secure Custom Fields, oh, hang on, it's a fork of the Advanced Custom Fields plugin, which will be maintained by WordPress.org for security and functionality updates. So a fork, again, like I say, keep that in mind. We'll come back to that a little later. So this is Secure Custom Fields. However, we still have ACF on the left-hand side. Let's open this up. And we have ACF branding in the top left-hand corner. You'll notice if you're a free user that some of the upsells are missing from the right-hand side, and the same thing from more. We only have tools inside there, and the massive banner that we had underneath for the Pro version is no longer visible. So we can see code changes have been made to the ACF or Secure plugin, or Secure Fields plugin, which I still can't say easily. And if we add a field, for example, you can see everything looks exactly the same as it did before. The same thing applies if we come back out of this and we go and take a look at the Getting Started guide. Oh, look, we're actually going over to advancedcustomfields.com. Well, that's kind of strange. And if we take a look at Secure Custom Fields over on the WordPress.org repository, you'll also notice the same slug in there. This is Advanced Custom Fields, even though it's branded as Secure Custom Fields. The problem when it comes to a fork version of any plugin or any theme or any software that is under the GPL open source is you can make code changes and you can then redistribute it. There are certain implications you have to apply to, like crediting the original author and still making it under the same license agreement, the GPL and so on. I'm not an expert in open source and GPL, so if anything I get is wrong, please do let me know in the comments down below. So there's nothing wrong with making the fork of this. They can legitimately and legally do that. However, a fork of a piece of software, in this example, a plugin like ACF, would be a totally new plugin. It would basically be 0 installs, 0 reviews, 0 comments and questions and so on, and it would be under a new name and a new slug on the WordPress.org repo, which you can clearly see is not the case here. This is effectively changing the code for ACF a small amount, rebranding it under secure custom fields, making it available with all of the same information available, like we say, the number of active installs, 2+ million, and well, there's a lot of implications to go around that side of things. So what they've done is effectively invoke point 18 of being listed on the WordPress.org. Let me quickly show you what that actually entails. So this is available. I'll link this again in the description down below. This is over on the GitHub, which is the guidelines for WordPress plugins. So you can see, point 18, we reserve the right to maintain the plugin directory to the best of our ability. This is WordPress.org now, owned by Matt Mullenweg. Okay, solely owned by Matt Mullenweg. Bear that in mind. Our intent is to enforce these guidelines with as much fairness and humanly possible. We do this to ensure overall plugin quality and the safety of their users. To that end, we reserve the right, or the following rights. Okay, so not worry about the updating guidelines, disable remove plugins, that's fair enough. What we're interested in is this: to make changes to a plugin without developer consent in the interest of public safety. So, let's also take this point as well. To remove the developer access to a plugin in lieu of new active developer. So what we're basically kind of saying is, if the developer isn't active and they deem there's a security risk in that plugin still being available, they can use this point 18 to take over the maintenance and ownership of that kind of plugin and move forward supporting it without the original developer because they're no longer available, or using these kind of points here. The problem arises here when this is kind of an engineered situation, because a couple of days ago, or maybe a few days ago, WP Engine's rights to be able to access WordPress.org were revoked by Matt Mullenweg. Okay, so that means they cannot go in and access anything, upload new versions or anything else, apply security fixes. So therefore, you could say it's an abandoned plugin because the developer can't maintain and update it. Now, prior to that, there was WordPress released a statement about there being a vulnerability in ACF free, at which point they made it publicly available, not really following the guidelines, which is acceptable when it comes to, sort of telling people about this issue, but that's a different point for a different day. So now we've got a situation where there's a security vulnerability. The plugin developer cannot log into WordPress.org to be able to update and patch any vulnerability that's there. So what they did was they made another way of accessing the plugin, which is what I demonstrated in a previous video. You can check out your link in the description down below for how to do it. By doing that, that's obviously caused a bit of an issue because now the updates are no longer coming from the .org repository, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. So what they're saying now is, because this is a safety risk, a security risk, because there's a vulnerability, WordPress released a update to this. And then because the developer can't access it, they've now taken over that plugin. That's not a fork, that's a hostile takeover. That's engineering the situation to make it impossible for the developer to be able to kind of fit in with these guidelines, therefore making these guidelines a way of easily being able to grab that code and use it, and also affect 2+ million users who, many of which will probably update without even realizing it, and they'll have secure custom fields as opposed to advanced custom fields. This is concerning for many, many different reasons. So what are some of those reasons? Well, first of all, there's already a real problem with WordPress in the WordPress developer community, and let's just say users that are probably a little bit more in the know than maybe the average user that isn't following this drama and isn't following all the issues that are kind of going on and what this means. So they're probably totally happily oblivious, which I wish I was as well. To be honest, it's a nice place to be. But then there's a big subset of people that are concerned about what's going on here. Developers, people active inside the community, creators, and those kinds of things. The problem is there's faith being lost there. There are already companies and agencies out there that are looking at alternatives to WordPress because they are concerned what the broader implications for what's going on right now in the space of 2 to 3 weeks, and when this is going to end and what this is going to do to the overall sort of setup. The second thing is you've got developers that have products over on the WordPress.org repo that are now already pulling their products off there and making them available via their own channels because the concern is here that this is setting a precedence. Now, you may be thinking, well, Paul, what's there to worry about? There's one plugin and a sea of tens of thousands. Should we really be concerned? Well, that's up to you. You've only got to make your moral judgment on that. But what I would say, I want to draw your attention to this and why this is concerning for the broader kind of picture. This is a post from the 29th of September this year by Matt Mullenweg, the owner of WordPress.org, the sole owner. At some point as a platform, we can look at the most popular plugins and decide whether they should go into core. It's all GPL code. It's tempting to say we should rewrite it or make a new Fields API, but it's already 2+ million sites running something like ACF. Why don't we just start with whatever has the most usage and iterate from there? We should take the best code and run with it. Then there's talk about the trademark. We'd obviously need to rename it, but the code is all fair game. We could auto-migrate all current users of the plugin into our core functionality. So this isn't talking about forking. This is talking about taking the code, taking the user base, and taking advantage of all that. This is talking about ACF, but as you can see from the opening sort of section, at some point as a platform, we can look at the most popular plugins and decide whether they should go into core. That basically sets a precedent here for whatever the plugin does. If they like it, and it's a competitor to what they could potentially release themselves, why reinvent the wheel? Let's just take what's there, put it into core, migrate the current user base over, and all is good and all is happy in the world. Or at least in WordPress world, not for developers who put their time, effort, money, resources into creating great platforms and products for us. And then this is kind of like a little threat that hangs over all of them. Not a good situation. And that's the biggest problem here. Whether you agree or disagree with what Matt Mullenweg has done, what WP Engine has done, or this whole situation, that doesn't change the fact that the implications for people that have code bases and things, plugins and so on, and themes, things like that on WordPress.org, this could happen to anybody at any time if they get on the wrong side of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg, WordPress.org, whatever it's going to kind of be. So I would love to see just things settle down a little bit, because at the moment, we're in such a state of flux and people sort of being banned from the official WordPress Slack, people leaving left, right, and center, leaving the ecosystem, people that brought lots of value to the whole WordPress system. The whole thing is giving back. Well, when people are giving back and giving back a lot of time and resources and help and support and so on, that doesn't necessarily get recognized inside this Five for the Future, then it's just not making what should be a really open and supportive environment a nice place to be. It's very toxic. It's just not a nice place to be. Let's leave it at that. But this is my take on the situation. This is from what I've looked at over the last couple of days and my understanding of it. If I've got anything wrong, please do let me know in the comments section below. If you agree or disagree, that's perfectly fine. Again, leave your comments. Just keep them polite and civil, and just listen to what other people have to say, whether you agree or not, and don't get personal when you comment or reply to something you feel strongly about.